Last Sunday, Derek spoke to us about the place called home, a place of care, of love, and of life. This morning, amidst the storms of the pandemic and the threat and struggle of war, I want us to reflect on how Jesus brings us to a place of peace. The story of Jesus and his disciples in the Galilee storm is deeply personal to me, deeply grounded in the reality of my life. For as the gospel writers intended, the account of Jesus bringing a place of storm into a place of peace transcends its original setting and speaks to your life and to my life today. Jesus, the peacemaker, makes peace for us and makes peace in us. For 3 years, I lived in the International Baptist Seminary in a village called Ruschlichen. The campus overlooked Lake Zurich and the mighty Swiss mountains beyond. The lake was similar to the Sea of Galilee in that the wind could storm down through the mountains, and in a moment, the calm of a beautiful afternoon could suddenly be filled with large threatening waves, dark skies, and frightening winds. Just as suddenly, storms can come into our lives. This happened to me 12 years ago. My best friend, Tim, died very suddenly. He was only 51. He seemed to be in reasonable health. Then, like the sudden squall that would sweep down through the mountains, we were hit by the storm of his loss. In similar ways, I was ambushed by the storms of grief. Many of you have known similar storms, and you were sharing one, John, of loss in your lives. Storms come suddenly. The loss of a loved one, a friend, a job, a relationship, a trust, of health, of vision. The storm clouds can circle us all. So, what helps us when the storm hits? What helps? Deeply helpful to me in this time of loss was the image of Jesus alongside the drowning disciples, bringing peace to the storm of their journey. I found picturing Jesus in my own imagination, bringing peace to the storm to just be helpful. Many artists have sought to capture this, and hopefully we can put some pictures on the screen. It's good. So that's it. Good, thank you. Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee by Rembrandt van Rijn. And then another one is Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee by Ludolf Bachhuisen. Christ Asleep During the Tempest by Eugene Delacroix. Jesus Stills the Tempest by William Hawley. And Peace Be Still by Arnold Freiberg. The artists paint with brushes what Luke so wonderfully captures with the economy of words in his gospel. Boats of the Bible are often tossed about on dark and stormy seas, but in them God provides shelter from life-threatening danger. A boat is first found in Genesis chapter 8, when God kept Noah and his family and the animals safe from the flood that destroyed life. In a boat called the Ark. The safety of Noah's Ark provided is highlighted in 3 references in the New Testament, in Matthew 24:38, Luke 17:27, and 1 Peter 3:20. In Exodus 2:5, the little basket that kept Moses alive, remember how he was put down the River Nile in a basket? That same basket is called an ark, with the same word as was there for Noah's Ark. And that kept Noah safe and was part of God's plan. So the boat is a life-saving shelter throughout Scripture. Just as here in Luke's Gospel, Jesus keeps his disciples safe in a boat. Though they fear for their lives in the storm on the Sea of Galilee, there is peace. So on a voyage to Rome, Paul commands the sailors to stay in the ship when it's caught in a storm just off Crete, when there's a hurricane-force wind. And although the ship was finally destroyed, everyone aboard was safely reached land. Often in the Bible, the sea is an image of danger, of chaos and death, while the boat portrays the safety God provides for his people from life's most threatening evils. Consequently, the ship has been seen as a fitting image for the church. And one of the things you'll notice if you go to some of the wee churches up north around Scottish coasts is that the roofs are shaped like boats. It's like they're an upside down boat. And I've been in quite a few churches where you could think if you just flipped it, it would float. The parallel is never directly made in the New Testament, but the image of Jesus in the boat demonstrating power over the wind and waves pointed to the boat as a symbol of safety and the sense of carrying people to their destination. There are three hopefully helpful reflections I want to make from this account in Luke's Gospel. As they sailed, Jesus fell asleep. The image of Jesus sleeping through the storm speaks to some people about when they're in a crisis, God seems far away. It feels like God is sleeping. And that's one possibility. And it can be a very real feeling for people that, you know, where is God in this? How can God be here in this situation? And yet Jesus was there and is there. But more helpful to me has been the understanding that Jesus is able to bring peace to the storm because he's at peace with himself, because he has an inner peace. Throughout the Bible, the ability to sleep, to rest, to be at peace during trouble was often seen as a sign of faith in God. I lie down and sleep. I wake again because the Lord sustains me. Psalm 3:5. I will lie down and sleep in peace. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. Psalm 4:8. The Greeks also praised philosophers who demonstrated consistency with their teaching by maintaining a serene attitude during a storm. One of the great joys of my life has been to hold babies in my arms and to gently rock them to sleep, to know the warmth and the wonder of a child's trust. Jesus rocked in the cradle of a fishing boat, trusted in his heavenly Father. Before COVID restricted all our family plans and travel plans, we had a family holiday at Port Patrick down on the coast. I love Port Patrick. It's a place where the waves come in, and it was just beautiful. And we had a big house, and we were all together, so it was great to be there. And I escaped at times from all the grandchildren and things, and would sit up above the harbor and just sit and enjoy the space and allow God to just bring his peace. It's one of the things I love to do. Top of a mountain, by the sea on a rock, just to sit, to be still. I mean, we can do it at home, but it's quite nice to do it in some place beautiful. Peace can saturate us. It can just fill us. Of course, I didn't know the storms that would await when we'd return, but I know that the time I spent with God while away allows me to know something more of that deep peace of God. Jesus is able to bring peace to the storm because he lives in the peace of God. It's important that you and I take time out to pray and rest and know the peace of God. Life can just go so fast sometimes, can't it? And everything's happening, and you've got to either get the children out to school or the grandchildren out to school and get this and all the things. Where do we find that space to just know that inner peace? Peace that helps us through the storm. One of my great joys has been to teach sailing and to sail with friends in keelboats in the Clyde Basin and around. And quite often when you're out sailing, a storm will come. You don't necessarily know when they're going to come. And I remember, well, it's just, I don't like amateurs who sail. And so we were sailing in a keelboat, and we came into a harbor during a really strong storm, and we put down lots of anchor, and we're there for the night, and we were just about to go and get some sleep when we saw another boat come in, and we saw them just chuck over a short amount of anchor. So what happens then is they go off to bed, and you have to stay awake all night because you don't want their boat to crash into your boat, which is what happens if they don't put down enough anchor, or they go onto the rocks. And the problem is that when you're in the middle of a storm, you can shout as loudly as you want to, but it just doesn't go anywhere. So you can try to shout to tell them their boat's about to go into the rocks in the middle of the night, and it doesn't do any good. They nearly did, but not quite. They hit a bump in the shore before their boat actually got wrecked on the rocks because they didn't put down enough anchor. They just chucked the anchor over and thought that a short amount of chain would do it. But of course, the tide rises, the anchor doesn't hold, and off they went to crash into the rocks. So it's important in our life that we have an anchor. And I think that one of the anchors that we have in our life is a peace, an inner peace. And we need to cultivate that. What makes us different from our colleagues at work, or the people that we meet in the queue outside the school, or the people that we meet in the shops or the cafes, or what is it about us that's different? Is there a trust, a peace inside of us? I think Jesus had that peace. Where is your, sorry, excuse me. Where is your faith? Jesus asked his disciples. The point of this story is not only that Jesus has strength to still the storm, but rather that the disciples should have trusted more in his power to help them. Here in Luke, Jesus treats his disciples less reproachfully than Mark's original account. Luke omits Mark's rebuke of their timidity and simply leaves the question, where is your faith? The difference from Mark, do you not yet have faith, suggests that for Luke, disciples are characterized by faith even when it's become a bit weak and watery amidst the storm. So here Jesus attributes their cries to a forgetful faith rather than a lack of faith. A faith in the power of God as revealed in Jesus. If we make a practice of remembering our faith through communion, through Bible reading, through prayer, through worship and waiting, through study and journal writing, when the storms come, we've got more to hold on to. So, obviously, when things go wrong for all of us, and when we're in the storms, we struggle to have faith. But if that faith has a bit more backbone to it because we've filled it, it helps. And Jesus gives us that strength. We're told that Jesus got up and rebuked the wind and the raging waters. The storm subsided and all was calm. In fear and amazement, the disciples asked one another, "Who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him." The effect of this whole event is to fill the disciples with amazement, wonder amidst the waves, rather than fear and fluster in sinking failure. Wonder arises out of reflection. The reflection on or of a calm sea and Jesus' ability to command the wind and raging waters. When we're in that place of amazement, of worship, and look to God, we see that the winds of wickedness and the troughs of trouble are diminished because God is so much bigger, so much greater, so much more. You see, whatever the size of your problem, the God of peace is bigger by far. How great is our God? I choose to celebrate. I choose to celebrate when I come to a place of worship, which is why I love coming to church and love coming here. When I come to that place of worship, it helps me get things in perspective. It helps me to see from a different place. I choose to worship. I choose to celebrate. I choose to be amazed at how amazing God is. So for me, participation in worship in the boat of the church has sustained me through the storms in my life. So 3 things. Why do ministers always have 3 things? I'm going to have more next time. Inner peace. Where do we find that inner peace? Remembered faith. And wonder and worship. These are the 3 things which help us find peace amidst the storms of our life. Amen.